Hi everybody, Dhaman Mehta here, and thank you for once again joining me on my journey as I go through my favorites list on fanfiction.net. Uh, I know it's been a while since the last video, as always, as I say every single time, because been so slow with these for a long time. But let's just go. I do have 7 stories for you this video, starting with the strange relationship between Oppai Dragon and Ramen Chef by Death to Original Naming. This is a Naruto High School DxD crossover, which, unlike most High School DxD crossovers and stuff, isn't really a big shonen thing. This is really more of a fun slice of life gag fic that pretty much sidesteps all of that, shonen stuff. And it's just mainly focused on a small group of friends doing a bunch of silly things, even if that group contains a super pervert, a newly born yokai, a devil Nekoken, and a dimensionally displaced ninja, and the strongest dragon in the universe, or whatever. It's got this group, but it's just a sort of casual fun that effortlessly entertains. It's really similar. Like, the thing that it made it really similar to me was like Nichijou kind of sense and Azumanga Daioh, where it's like simple. You have these characters; they're just fun to be around, and it's just dumb, small scale, stupid little things that they're doing, and it's just really entertaining because of how over the top they go with it. I just really enjoy it a lot. The story beats are all small scale and simple, but like Issei acting as like the straight man really works for all the jokes, and I had a great time coming back to this. I had a lot of fun. It's gonna stay on my list. Number 2 is Draconian Fate Works Volume 1 by Kratos 1989. Another high school DxD fic, this time with Fate Stay Night crossing over, with Shiro as our main protagonist, where Shiro ends up in the DxD world after a lost, like a dead apostle hunt, and he just starts living his life while thinking, oh, Rin will eventually find me and take me back home. So this story gets bonus points for Shiro staying human. He doesn't immediately join any of the peerages, and it gets even more points because even though the devils like do try to connect to them, it's actually Sona's group that actually connects more than Rias's group. So like, novelty for me, that's a lot of fun. Yeah, Shiro takes center stage here. He's like super OP compared to, especially early high school DxD, but obviously we get further on. But the bad guys also start evolving to take him into account, along with some other bad guys from his own neck of the woods that were also dimensionally displaced, coming in and starting to fight out. The battles here are suitably dramatic, and the author does a good work jumping around with multiple POVs to handle when the big battle scenes come. There's a lot of stuff happening all over the place, and he does a lot of POV jump hopping to make it work. I liked it a lot. It worked pretty well for me. It's going to stay on my list. Number 3 is DX Fate XD by The Hero of the End. This is another high school DxD Fate crossover with, again, Shiro being the main protagonist. However, this is essentially, it's not really a one-shot, but it's only one chapter that the author never continued, where Shiro basically, when Rias was a much younger child, Shiro saved her and took all her pieces. So there's no Issei in this fic. Shiro is her devil, and yeah, again, this is another one where Shiro basically very easily defeats the early game DxD problems and has his harem aura on full display, charming every single woman who meets. Perfectly serviceable, but nothing really engaging and nothing worth revisiting here. So, unlike the others, this one, it's gonna fall off my list. Next is Deus Ex Machina by The Plot Bunny Whisperer. And this is a short, very, very, very small Harry Potter and Avengers crossover where basically Harry, after becoming the Master of Death, has to deal with all the paperwork of death and sees like a whole bunch coming his way and gets a little pissed off at Loki and the stuff and his brother for causing him such a pain in the ass. It's fine. might give you a small chuckle, but not a joke I see myself wanting to come back to again and again or enjoy multiple times. So it's gonna fall off my list. Next is The Rise of the Consultant Hero by Apocalyptic Phoenix. This is a Percy Jackson crossover with Sherlock, the BBC series with Benedict Cumberbatch. So the first chapter is, hey, I finished Percy Jackson and now he wants to just leave the Olympians and go do his own thing. And then the next is basically just him being Sherlock. Like, he just replaces, he is the Sherlock from the show and does basically a bunch of the first episodes from the first two seasons. And then eventually gets pulled back to New York to deal with the Greek gods version of one of his cases. So the thing with this story is, this story reminded me why I did enjoy the first two seasons of Sherlock, even if the latter seasons like really tried to erase that knowledge. But I just found myself bored with the overall story. Later on, when it comes, like, the plot moves so that Artemis is now just gets, like, loses her godly powers and becomes Percy's now sidekick, with John taking cases on its own, and it all just didn't feel great. It felt pointless to me. It just didn't connect in any way with me, so this is going to fall off my list. Okay, so number 6 is Aria of the Soul by Chocolate, and this is a Fate Stay Night and Persona crossover where after the events of Persona 3, Minato wakes up in Fuyuki and just gets adopted by Taiga as her pet Bishonin. There's nothing really here. Nothing really happens aside from a bunch of scenes where Minato shows off his triple S ranked harem aura and stuff. But nothing. There's nothing substance here. Nothing worth revisiting. Again, it gave me a small smile, but nothing to really chew on, and no reason for me to revisit this. It's gonna fall off my list. Right, and the final video for the final story for this video is Persona 3 Remix by Eternal Comb-Over. And this is a retelling of Persona 3 and a couple other stuff later on, where the events of Persona 3 happen in a world where the other SMT games happened beforehand. So it's not its own thing. The events aren't happening simultaneously, but the events did happen and people talk about it, and people there from those previous SMT games do exist in this world. And that is really interesting, like, because, the SMT games, a lot of shit has happened in those games, and a lot of interesting people and powerful people are there. And the world it sets up is interesting because, immediately when Minato goes to summon his persona for the first time, instead he summons a bunch of fiends because the big boss of the demons decided, hey, Minato's original fate, where he's gonna die anyway, fuck that, let's change the board and let's give him some new powers and do stuff. And yeah, I think that's cool that all these new people added in end up changing a lot of his social links, so we have way more new different stories coming in and how he's growing. And that's all that I think is really cool. The new factions that come in from these previous protagonists existing and being in the thing, changing the government, having these different orders. That's all interesting. It's just a shame that I fucking hate this Minato's guts. Like, so in the base game and the original story, like, Minato is essentially a blank slate. You can argue that that's there just because anybody can slot in. There is a part they do try to justify it to a bit, and I honestly think it works. Is where it's like Minato had death sealed inside of him for since he was a child, and the way the story goes is that having death inside of him basically deadened his emotions and made him apathetic to everything. And then when he grows his social links, he starts growing more and more emotional as a person and can connect with other people, and that's how his growth goes as a character. Here, soon as he's already a wisecracking, thieving asshole he's also like manic and violently sadistic, who treats basically everybody rather shittily, and everybody just loves, like, a lot of people just love him for it. Like, literally the whole school loves him, even though he literally works as like he takes over the social school by like physically assaulting students and stuff like it's ridiculous. Like for and that behavior extends or like bleeds over onto the other cast members. Mitsuru, instead of just being this calm, collected, and super poised person, now is literally acting like freaking I don't forget her name, but the student council president from Kill la Kill. It was like, I'm going to rule this school with an iron fist, and all teachers and everybody is peons to me. And Minato, you be my right, like my fist of justice, and like control everything. She literally introduces him to the student council by him sucker punching Hidetoshi because like, oh, you didn't fix up that whole smoking person problem and you didn't solve it quickly enough. Here, you're a bitch, you're fired. Minato, throw him out, and like literally does that. It's kind of insane how that goes, and also how he just treats everybody is just so shittily. Like his social links with Yukari, which he's also like starts super early, like just spent the whole time berating her, making fun of her, just like lambasting her, and she just like, yeah, whatever, I like it, you're good, and level up. It's like he's terrible person, big ass asshole, does violent, and yet everything works out for him, nothing can go wrong, and it's just infuriates me. I got through 32 chapters of this, which if we go at a rate of like on average, this thing's like 7K per chapter. That's 210,000 words of this 1.8 million word behemoth, and I had no enjoyment whatsoever with this character. I hated his guts. Didn't want to see, even though fucking Dante's here and Lucifer, and you know he's constantly hanging out with Elizabeth. So I love the world. I hate the fucking character that you're forcing me to spend time with. This guy sucks. I do not want to deal with him. This is not going to stay on my list. So there we go. Those are the stories for this video. Fanfiction status time. I've now read 1,118 stories, and 526 of them have managed to stay on my list. So thank you for watching this video. If you want to see any of these stories for yourself, I always leave links to them in the description down below, as well as links to the playlist of this whole journey, and also a forum where I post these. I post all these reviews in written form, as well as they also have links to the videos. So if you want to see them there and go through the list, feel free. But yeah, that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care.